Hold on to your hats, folks, because Black 47 explodes onto the scene. We meet Hannah, a former Brit soldier turned police investigator, think grumpy detective, but with a really bad accent. He's shadowing Irish rebels, dreaming of independence, and boy, is he irritable. One interrogation goes south fast when our man Hannah loses his cool and, well, let's just say the suspect's lunch is definitely ruined. It's 1847, the Irish famine's at its brutal worst, and the country's a wasteland. People are starving, fleeing to America, it's a total mess. Enter Martin, an Irishman fighting for the British, until he deserts, only to find his family shattered. His mum's gone, his brother's been hanged. All that's left is his sister-in-law, Ellie, and her starving kids, huddled in a ramshackle cottage. Poor Martin. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this story's a roller coaster. Michael, a bit of a chip off the old block, snubs his uncle Martin, who, let's just say, made some questionable life choices fighting for the Brits in Ireland. But Martin, bless his adventurous heart, announces a trip to America, inviting the whole clan. Ellie, however, drops a bombshell. Famine, starvation, and a truly villainous landlord, Lord Kilmichael, are making life unbearable. She takes Martin to his mother's grave, a poignant moment before the real drama unfolds. Upon his return, bam! Rick inspectors, think stern British cops, are tearing apart their home. Martin tries diplomacy, but these guys are unmoved. He tries to intervene, gets tackled, and, well, things go south fast. Ellie and her daughters surrender, but young Michael? He lashes out, leading to a tragic, heartbreaking end. The screams of a mother, the silent grief of a sister, it's a gut-wrenching scene, folks. Whoa, Martin's in a world of hurt. Captured by the Rick soldiers, they think he's a deserter, until he kicks things into overdrive. 1 minute he's facing questioning, the next he's wielding a cookery like a ninja, slicing and dicing those soldiers into next week. Talk about a delicious revenge. But the victory's short-lived. He races back to Ellie's, only to find a blizzard of bad news. The cottage's roof is gone, and Ellie and her daughters are frozen stiff. Heartbreaking. Now Martin's fueled by a raging inferno of grief and vengeance. Meanwhile, Hannah's in a jam, arrested for that earlier kill. The army's offering a deal, nab Martin, walk free. Afghanistan buddies, reunited, in the most explosive way imaginable. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a wild ride. Hannah, bless his heart, doesn't want to hunt his buddies, but blackmail's a powerful motivator. So, he's off with Pope, who, by the way, turns out to be a real prize donkey. Meanwhile, Martin's on a pig-related adventure, facing down a rent collector who's less than thrilled with a visit. Let's just say, the collector's firearm malfunction is less than coincidental. Hannah and Pope are steaming towards Western Ireland, discovering Pope's got all the empathy of a badger. Then there's Judge Bolton, a man who'd sentence a leprechaun to hard labor for stealing a 4-leaf clover. Martin confronts Bolton about his brother's hanging, but the judge is about as sympathetic as a cactus in a desert. It's a showdown. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a wild ride. Martin, our charming protagonist, decides a window's a great place for a hanging. Baltan's hanging, to be precise. Meanwhile, Hannah, Pope, and a rookie named Hobson, ditching their uniforms for some serious undercover action, stumble upon Baltan's demise in town. The sergeant spills the beans. Martin's the culprit. Our intrepid trio then embark on a countryside stakeout, dodging the desperately poor and hungry, until they reach Bert Laws, surprisingly polka-donned cops. A helpful and conveniently bribable bloke named Connolly spills the tea and directs them to Bert Laws, a severed head. Connolly even offers his translating services. But wait, there's more. Martin's up to his old tricks at a Protestant church, forcing the hungry into religious conversion with a bowl of soup. And get this, his mother's involved. Oh, boy, buckle up. This preacher's soup was tempting, I tell ya, but our heroine's Protestant principles were stronger than her stomach. Starvation? Seriously? Then bam, Martin swoops in, soup bandit style. They try to stop him. He drags the preacher and his wife outside like a boss, and the whole Irish mob descends for a soup buffet. Hobson calls Martin a coward? Please. Hannah, the woman who knows best, declares him the bravest soldier ever, Afghanistan hero, that's my boy. Next stop, Cronin, the eviction kingpin, government lapdog, working for Lord Kilmichael. But Martin's already there, a one-man army in Cronin's barn. Hannah and the gang arrive, guns blazing, a horse gets shot, chaos ensues, and Martin, cool as a cucumber, walks right out. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a wild ride. Hannah Hobson gets, bam. Pope shoots, misses. Hobson takes aim at a terrified Martin, who's too chicken to even pull the trigger, and makes a run for it. They burst inside to find Cronin, 6 feet under, buried in grain. Seriously? Pope sends a panicked servant to warn Lord Kilmichael, Martin's on the loose. That night, during Martin's trial, Hannah's on guard duty when bam. Martin shows up, pistol blazing. He disarms her, and they start confessing their war crimes. What a therapy session. Martin spills the beans about fighting for the English, only to come home to a life of poverty. He begs Hannah to run off to England with him, but she's got other things on her mind. He walks away, leaving her with a cliffhanger. Next day, they storm Lord Kilmichael's place, and it's a bounty hunter free for all. Kilmichael himself has put a price on Martin's head. Pope and Hannah break the bad news. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a roller coaster. Dangerous Martin? Oh, he's dangerous alright. But Kilmichael? He's so busy basking in the glow of his personal army, bodyguards and bounty hunters galore, that he's completely oblivious to the impending doom. This stubborn, clueless lord is trucking his grain to town, thinking he's clever. Hannah and Pope, wisely keeping their mouths shut. Hobson's jaw drops when he learns Kilmichael's not feeding the starving Irish, but shipping the bounty to England. He even takes a hostage, desperate to help. But before you can say, potato famine, a sergeant shoots him dead. Kilmichael, heart of stone, business as usual. He struts into his carriage, the starving masses trailing him like pathetic shadows. And get this, he actually brags that the famine boosted his profits. He thinks Martin's done, but oh honey, Martin's shadowing him, even in the pouring rain. That night, Kilmichael stops. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a wild ride. Pope, Hannah, and Connolly, all sharing a house. Kilmichael, still sporting that infuriating smirk, sleeps like a log, completely oblivious. Enter Martin, sneaky as a ninja, taking out a guard before even breaking a sweat. He's aiming for Kilmichael's bed, but it's a trap. Pope's waiting. A lightning-fast move, and bam, Pope's gun's gone. Martin's about to finish him off, but Hannah steps in. Suddenly, Kilmichael bursts in, ordering Hannah to shoot. But she hesitates. Martin, ever cool, takes out Pope, grabs Kilmichael, and vanishes into the night. Our arrogant villains dragged off to the countryside, while Martin remains the picture of calm. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the sergeants collared Hannah for treason. Pope's always suspected her. And get this, the next day, Hannah's facing a firing squad. The guns are raised. Whoa, bullets fly. Pope orders a hit, but bam. Martin's a quicker draw. He gallops into the courtyard, a one-man cavalry charge. They gun him down, or so they think. It's a decoy. Michael's the one taking a dirt nap. Meanwhile, Martin's unleashed, a John Wick whirlwind of rifle fire and knife foo. Hannah's snagging a rifle like a pro, adding to the chaos. Total pandemonium. English soldiers are more confused than a cat in a room full of laser pointers. Pope takes a shot, and gets shot. Sergeant charges in, a brawl breaks out, sending them tumbling into the stables. While they're slugging it out, Pope's reloading. This is getting intense. Back at the mansion, it's a peasant grain heist. Connolly's in on it, the ultimate accomplice. Martin chokes out the sergeant, ready to escape, but more soldiers? The cliffhanger. Hold on to your hats, folks, because things are about to get wild. Hannah bursts onto the scene, a true superhero, just as Martin's about to become toast. They make a run for it, but bam, Pope shoots Martin. Hannah tries to return fire, but her rifle's having a total meltdown, a dramatic malfunction. So they hightail it out of there. Martin, wounded and weak, spills the beans. The English are on his tail. He urges Hannah to ditch the fight and hightail it to America, just like he'd planned, before things went sideways. Meanwhile, Michael's body's being carted off like a forgotten pizza, watched by Connolly and his Irish buddies. Pope's nursing a bullet wound, riding back to Dublin, a grumpy cowboy heading to a showdown. Hannah's hot on his trail, vengeance burning in her eyes. He hits a crossroads, and guess who he bumps into? A whole bunch of Irish folks heading to America, and Martin's niece. She's a survivor. Hannah looks at Pope, looks at the escape route, and, well, the rest is up to your imagination, because we're leaving you hanging. The tension, the suspense, the sheer, unadulterated drama.